Ukraine accuses Russia of bombing a children's hospital in the city of Mariupol. Officials say there are many dead and injured, with children buried under the rubble. The attack happened while a ceasefire was supposed to be in place. Mariupol's mayor says President Putin has destroyed a peaceful city.
They wanted to take the lives of our children, our women, our doctors, who've been fighting for 14 days of war for the lives of every child who came under fire from enemy weapons.
In eastern Ukraine, a ceasefire in Sumy does hold, allowing many more people to flee to safety.
Meanwhile, in neighbouring Irpin, uprooted civilians have managed to leave the town. The United Nations is calling the situation a dark, historic first.
The town is being emptied of its residents. And it's not just happening here. There are other cities in Ukraine being bombarded by the Russians where civilians are being driven out.
A ceasefire in the eastern Ukraine city of Sumy is holding, allowing many more people to flee to safety. Russia's increasing economic isolation is continuing. Heineken now joins McDonald's, Coca-Cola and Unilever in pausing operations there.
International condemnation of Russia after the bombing of a maternity and children's hospital in the besieged city of Mariupol. Ukraine's President Zelensky describes it as a war crime.
We have not done and would never do anything like this war crime in any of the cities of the Donetsk or Lugansk regions, or of any region, because we are people.
High-level talks are to take place today between the foreign ministers of Ukraine and Russia, their first since the invasion began.
A direct plea from Ukraine's ambassador to the UK as he begs the government to relax visa rules for people fleeing the war, most of them women and children.
I totally hope they're not posing any threat, especially terrorist threat to UK. So that's why I hope and I beg that the procedures will be dropped and every bureaucratic red tape should be cancelled.
And I want to take you back now to Kiev, where there are more powerful images. Members of the city's orchestra held an impromptu open-air concert in the city's Independence Square. Let's take a look. Here they are in hats and coats, playing in freezing temperatures with a small crowd waving Ukrainian flags. The conductor said the aim was to promote the Ukrainian government's call for a no-fly zone across the country and an end to the war. The concert was broadcast live on Ukrainian TV. Let's have a listen.
Well, let's take a look through this morning's front pages, and of course, most of them lead with the attack on the maternity hospital in Mariupol. Putin bombs children's hospital is the headline for The Eye. The Times says that the Russian airstrike was aimed at mothers and babies. The Metro describes it as a new low for Putin, with a picture of some of those injured. The Mirror simply says barbaric, while the Mail calls it depraved and says Boris Johnson has vowed to hold President Putin to account. The ultimate in depravity is the headline for The Express. And evil upon evil is the Sun's take on that attack. And The Guardian also quotes the Ukrainian president's words.
It's time to keep you up to date with everything that's been happening overnight in Ukraine. James Reynolds is here to run us through it, as you have been doing throughout the week, James. And there have been developments about this, with this attack on this hospital, this maternity hospital.
Russia, Naga and Charlie, has said that that attack is fake news, essentially. Well, let's look at the map of Ukraine. You can see the bits in red are the bits which are controlled by Russia, and these stripy bits are where Russia has been making advances. You can see it's making those advances towards the capital, Kiev. And here in the south, it is trying to link up its territory along this coastal corridor, including to the city of Mariupol. And Mariupol, of course, as Naga was saying, there has been hit. The city's maternity and children's hospital was hit in a strike. Ukraine has called it a war crime. And the city itself is going through this. and it has been cut off. That means no running water or electricity or gas. There have been repeated attempts to try to evacuate residents from there, to get them out. All of those attempts have failed. Across the country, though, 2 million people have managed to flee west into the rest of Europe, and more than 1 million of them have taken the easiest way, the quickest way, right into Poland, where they are now seeking safety. And that, Poland, is where the US Vice President Kamala Harris has gone for a round of talks with Polish leaders. Poland has offered the United States fighter jets for use in the war against Russia, but the United States, in the form of the Vice President there, is extremely wary of this. It doesn't want to get drawn into a direct fight with Russia. Russia itself will later today hold direct talks with Ukraine. The two countries' foreign ministers will meet in southern Turkey. This is a picture of one of their delegations arriving. These will be the highest level contacts between the two sides since the invasion began. One item on the foreign minister's agenda might be nuclear security. Ukraine says that the former nuclear plant of Chernobyl, you might know this was the site of a major accident in 1986, has lost its power supply following the site's seizure by Russian forces. And that's how things look this morning.